Right, I think it's recording. So, a couple of bits that I just want to say before we dive in. This was just a few bits that came in from the meeting that Kat and I had this morning. So, one of them is some of you guys, I'm going to mute you, right? Sorry. When you have an incredible week, then it's almost like this feeling of I deserve my weekend. And then everything kind of gets derailed, and then you almost pretty much, obviously, it'll be water retention, but then end up again the next week at the exact point that you left off the week before. So, what I'd like you to consider in this is to try and avoid using food or alcohol because it kind of really high calorie things as a treat for your good work. Essentially, what you want to try and do is pair it with something new and better so that you don't just end up in this weekend cycle of going, I've had a really good week, now I'm back to square one. I've had a really good week, back to square one, because I promise you, it is making the journey harder. So try and think of something else that you can do that you might want to pair that with instead that actually probably serves your goals. Because essentially, the weekend, you're talking around 30% of the week. You can easily undo an entire calorie deficit in a weekend. So just consider your options, is what I'm asking. Um, Second thing I want to address, anyone on a home program, I'm just going to mute you, Michelle. Sorry, not being rude. Anyone on a home program, there seems to be a bit of a kickback with a dumbbell step up. And I want to show you what that would look like on a home program, right? So I've got my chair. Imagine I've got an imaginary dumbbell. You can also do it with body weight. That's it. Do you know what I mean? You could even put your chair against a wall. Like, you don't need a workout bench to do it from. So I'm just a bit, I think we're going to start pushing back on that one a little bit. There's no reason anyone can't do a dumbbell step up from home. It is a fantastic exercise. I can understand if we program it and someone's in the gym on the Smith machine because there is already potentially quite a high resistance on the Smith machine. So you might want to pivot into a dumbbell step up in that scenario. But it keeps coming up a few times, and I'm thinking, I don't understand why nobody feels like they can do it. Again, you might want to drop the reps or drop the weight or familiarize yourself, but you can do it from a chair. Like our chairs that I own, they're all different sizes, they're all different heights, they're all random shit that we got from charity shops years ago that live around my dining room part of this table. You can literally use a sofa, you can use a chair, like just get a little bit creative. It might well be that, yes, you might need to maneuver out of the room you're doing it from, but I kind of feel like we can do dumbbell step ups from home. So we're going to push back a little bit against that one because, like I say, they are a great exercise. The other thing that's come up, this comes up invariably, depending on when people join the program. We are aware that the group community chat can get very busy, especially if you're working like, I don't know, a 10-hour day, you get back and there's hundreds of messages in there. Now, we fully encourage you to use that community chat. However, if it does get a bit overwhelming, that is the sole reason why I set up just the announcements chat as well. Nobody can post in that announcements chat but me. You can reply to things hidden, and again, nobody else will see that but me. But that's the reason for the announcements chat. So just don't mute the announcements chat. And if you need to mute the group chat, that is absolutely fine. That's the whole purpose why we've created both, to give you anyone that wants to use the community to put whatever in there can. Anyone that doesn't, that's absolutely fine too. Like, there's no right or wrong. So if you feel like it gets a bit overwhelming, just know that's not a problem to do that. And I think that's my list. Yeah. Right, we're gonna go in. Hang on, let me share my slides. Bear with. Right, so we're going to go into why your gut might be fueling your sugar cravings, not necessarily the concept of it's just willpower. So that's what I want to take you guys through tonight. But before we do, I just want to shout out these absolute legends. So we've got Carrie Robinson, who is now officially beginning her reverse diet phase this week, which is very exciting because this is where you finally get to eat more. So it's always a really nice thing where somebody actually completes the fat loss phase, gets into the reverse diet, and can kick on with the next section. Pippa Smith, absolutely incredible body recomposition piece. Feels like she's the fittest she's ever been. She's in the best shape that she has ever been in, fitting into clothes she's never been able to wear for years, brand new sizing. So, again, massive, massive achievement, Pippa. And then we've also got Gemma Ford, who has officially lost her first 10 kg as well. So, well done to all of you ladies. And then we've also got a welcome to the new women, Michelle and Leanne as well. So, what is gut microbiome? So, gut microbiome is like your mini ecosystem inside of you. Essentially, it's where trillions of bacteria, fungi, microbes, they're mostly living inside of your large intestine, but these microbes help you to digest food. They're producing vitamins, supporting immunity, and yes, they can even impact your brain and cravings, which is what I want to take you guys through. So, this gut brain connection, it's called the gut brain axis. It's like a two-way street where the gut and the brain are using nerves, hormones, and chemical messages to communicate with each other. Hang on, I've moved you all on my screen and now I can't click. There you go. So, how does the gut talk to your brain about sugar? So, certain bacteria thrive on the foods that we eat, and some species prefer sugar and simple carbs because it's easy fuel for them. So, it's almost like your gut bacteria can get a little bit lazy depending on what you're deciding to fuel it with. So, when you regularly eat a lot of sugar, these sugar loving microbes can multiply and start to take over your gut. So, they will dominate. That produces signals like neurotransmitters and short chain fatty acids that impact hunger hormones. So, the ghrelin and the leptin. So, these are things again that are going to start to work against you. What they're going to do is trigger cravings by influencing dopamine and serotonin pathways. So these are your brain's reward chemicals. So we also do get dopamine and serotonin when we exercise. Let's say you get a promotion at work, your brain is suddenly going to go, oh my God, this is amazing. You're going to get that dopamine serotonin hit. But you can also artificially create that by putting too much of the wrong foods, not necessarily wrong foods, but in too much moderation inside of your body. So even potentially manipulating taste preference going forward, making sweet foods feel even more rewarding. And they're already a lot of the time pumped with chemicals to try and get you to do that anyway. And then with your gut on top of that, you're essentially just creating that chain reaction. So, research highlights on microbiome and sugar cravings. So, when they've actually studied this on mice, the scientists changed the balance of gut bacteria. So they were actually able to manipulate this by giving the animal food preferences. So they gave one lot of mice more sugar and then the other lot more fat cravings. And then what started to multiply in their gut was exactly based on the diets that they were actually consuming. So they wanted more sugar or they wanted more fat cravings, depending on which test group they were in. And human studies show that high sugar diets can lead to less diversity in the gut bacteria, which again is linked to more cravings, higher inflammation, so the swelling of the stomach, and sometimes even as far as an insulin resistance. So there's more emerging evidence that dysbiosis, an unhealthy imbalance in the microbiome, so going a negative way, can make it harder to regulate appetite and blood sugar, creating a vicious cycle of craving and overeating of sugar. So that's the consideration here. The more you are putting into you, the more the bacteria is essentially multiplying, and that is pushing you to actually think that you need more of it. And it's the gut that can create that signal to the brain. So, what is dysbiosis? What actually is it? So, it is where we do gain that unhealthy imbalance in the types and numbers of bacteria in your gut. So, obviously, this is not a great thing. So, instead of a diverse, balanced ecosystem, certain opportunistic bacteria and yeasts overgrow. This is then triggering by diets high in sugar and low in fiber. So we all want to be making sure we get that fiber in. So this imbalance can lead to inflammation, poor nutrient absorption, and here's the key bit, messed up appetite regulation. There is an enormous, I've been coaching for a while, right? There is enormous correlation between snacking, sugar fixes, chocolate fixes, carbs as well, all of that, and obesity, and that cycle of people believing they don't eat. No, I never eat. I don't eat. When in actual fact, they do eat, but they're allowing their gut microbiome to essentially evolve and shift so that it's just craving all of those wrong foods. And they're the foods that are not going to do them any favors with a low amount of vegetables, a low amount of salads, all of the foods that are actually going to help them out. They're going in that cycle the wrong way. So, dysbiosis disrupts the normal communication between your gut and brain via the gut brain axis. So, blood sugar roller coaster essentially is exactly what it is. So, the overgrowth of sugar loving microbes can make your body process carbs less efficiently. So, again, that's not a good thing. Carbohydrates are our greatest source of energy. But if that production of energy is dramatically slowed down, because of the microbiome inside of your gut, then again, it's going to mean that you're storing onto it as fat and not actually utilizing the energy, which is obviously what we want to be doing. So this can lead to faster blood sugar spikes and crashes. So this is when you get those major peaks and troughs in your day, rather than, like I say, actually being able to utilize the energy that is coming from those carbohydrates. Those crashes, shock horror, trigger your body to crave energy faster and therefore turn you back into that cycle of wanting more sugar. Hunger hormones are also majorly disrupted. So dysbiosis has been linked to the reduced production of key appetite regulating hormones like the GLP-1. So interestingly, GLP-1 is the active ingredient inside Ozempic and inside Manjaro, whatever fat loss drug brand that people are going with, it is a GLP-1, which is in essence an appetite suppressant. So when we eat, we should have the ability to feel full. Whereas actually, if you've messed around with your gut microbiome, essentially you might not get that feeling of feeling full. And then your body is just craving, craving, craving. And then all you're going to do is eat and eat and eat and eat. So when people say, I feel like I've got a bottomless stomach, it probably is because their gut microbiome has hampered with their natural ability to produce that GLP-1. So again, it can be reversed, but it's not something that ideally we want to try and avoid that in the first place. The result, feeling hungrier and less satiated after eating. So your cravings intensify. There can also be some inflammation and insulin resistance. So some of these bad bacteria increase gut permeability, so aka the leaky gut. So low grade inflammation, your body's insulin response gets impaired. Impaired insulin is going to lead to your body struggling to manage blood sugar, so more cravings for quick fixes like sugar. So again, leading onto that dark path. And the reward system is hijacked. So the unbalanced microbiome can overproduce or underproduce certain neurotransmitters like dopamine. So this is messing with your brain's reward system. So it's almost a bit like when I said people are having an incredible start to the week and then they're rewarding themselves at the weekend. This is that kind of behavior where you're getting your largest dopamine hit through poor food choices, essentially. And what we need to do is actually take a step back from that and go, actually, just because I've had a really good week, I don't actually need to reward myself with a McDonald's or a takeaway or sugary donuts or whatever it might be for you. We can actually learn to get dopamine from another channel, something else that gives you that feel good feeling. So, like when we went to the lake with the dogs really early Sunday morning, we love that. Do you know what I mean? That makes us feel good seeing the boys thrive and swimming and knowing they're in a really happy environment. We enjoy that, and it's good for us because we're also walking them around that lake. So you can get your dopamine hits from other ways. Again, strength training, the gym, it's organically going to do that. It's not by accident why we're pairing that with your nutrition inside of this program. So the vicious cycle. So here's what's happening. So you eat sugar, the sugar-loving microbes thrive. They're producing signals in your brain that nudge you to wanting to have more sugar. The imbalance, the dysbiosis is getting worse. The blood sugar and appetite regulation go downhill, which means cravings actually increase. The more sugar intake feeds the imbalance, the cycle keeps repeating itself. So it's like you've got microbiome gets stuck in sugar mode and keeps pushing you towards the foods that are making the problem worse. So there is also quite a correlation between people who do a lot of heavy baking and also end up being in the overweight category. So my mum is one of the biggest sweet tooth women I swear to God I have ever met. This is a woman, God bless her, and I like my mum's my best friend. I don't mean it disrespectfully, but like as a child, so we'd do the weekly shop, come home, and she would get one of those, I don't know what they're called, like a Belgian bun, but it's like a sticky bun tray, but it's made up of like eight or so individual sticky buns with one in the middle with the cherries on top. She would smash the entire thing in one sitting. Honest to God, I'm pretty sure that's why I do not like any cakes because I sat and watched it going, that's not normal. And I don't know where I learned that it wasn't normal because I could have quite easily followed in those footsteps. But I actually think she trained me to believe, do not follow my footsteps. And I think she did this in a lot of different ways. But I think that was a big one where she was like, do not lead, like, I'm not leading by example here. You do not follow this. And I don't know how she wasn't sick. I don't know. Like, she is absolutely obsessed with cakes and desserts. She's actually in really good shape now, but growing up, she did get a lot bigger and then she had to do the work to lose it. And I can guarantee now I know what I know. She was manipulating her gut microbiome without even realizing that she was doing it. Anyone that's just going to sit and gorge themselves on cake every night, you are creating that cycle. And again, people who bake often end up falling into that cycle because they do a lot of baking. And guess what? You're not going to throw it in the bin when you've done it, are you? Somebody's got to eat that baking. So again, it's just about making slightly better choices. So what can we actually do about this then? So it's not all doom and gloom. So your gut might be whispering in the back of your ear to eat more sugar, but the good news is you can retrain it. You can start to tell yourself a slightly different story. Now, it might not change overnight, and if anybody feels like they're in this category, then please do let us know, but gradually reducing the sugar intake. So cold turkey can backfire. This completely depends on the woman. I did encourage a client to go completely cold turkey last week, like no sugar whatsoever. And it has worked really well for her because we did try the gradual decrease and it just felt like it was too tempting. And I know another client said that this week she wanted to get home and she wanted to eat like a big slab of cheesecake or some kind of cake, something of that description. And she was a bit like, and I said, why don't you get the little Mr. Kipling finger size versions? And she said, no, if it's there, I'll eat it and I'll eat the whole fucking lot. So some of you guys might prefer a gradual decline where you just reduce it and think about it in your diet. Whereas some of you guys might prefer to go completely cold turkey. And I do, by the way, like sweets. I don't like cake. I don't really like dessert. Sticky toffee pudding. If that's on a menu, I am devastated. I will touch a brownie sometimes if I am made very aware of the consistency of the brownie because there's a good brownie and a bad brownie. But I do like a packet of sweets. And for full transparency, because I'm in a cot as well. Where are they? So I don't really know why this happened, but Thomas was at Tool Station yesterday, and because he's such a loyal customer, I can't remember what they gave him, but they gave me, which I'm not a loyal customer, I don't go in there, but like a full packet of it's like a cheap Haribo mix. But I can have a few and put the bag back. Like I have the discipline and the tunnel focus on my goals and what I want to get to in order to be able to say, I'm just going to have a small handful and I'm going to put them back. If you do not have that discipline, you might want to get the party pack sizes of things so that you can gradually wean your way off it. And I would not have sweets every single night. But again, that probably comes from my childhood because every single Monday I would get a refresher bar when we went shopping and I would get a flump, the marshmallow, and that was it. That's all I got for the week. That was literally it in terms of sweets, but I enjoyed those little treats and then I wouldn't get them again until Monday. Whereas I remember the kids over the road this giant tub of sweets. I've never seen anything like it when this kid brought it out. And I'm talking, that was my idea of heaven as a young girl, seeing this entire giant like Christmas box of sweets. And they had that every single week. And their mum would replenish that box as soon as it was running out. The whole sweet box was filled up, and they had one each, not including the crisps, not including, and like the children ended up obese. Do you know what I mean? It leaves clues in what they were doing. And of course, again, they're going to crave that sugar fix. And they were like, do you know what I mean? I don't know, like Gary and Stephen, they were probably 11 and 13 maybe. And I think I was about 12 at the time between them. But this is it. It's like one was like, I just got a little bit weekly. They had access to the full fucking tin every damn week. And of course they craved it. And of course their bodies then learned that it wanted it. And that just became part of their daily norm. And their bodies did not thank them for it. So just be mindful of things like that. But feed your good bacteria. This is the other consideration. So high in fiber foods are going to serve the bacteria that we actually want to. Yes, you can end up a little bit more gassy, but it is a good thing to get the fruit, get the vegetables, the legumes, the whole grains, all of this into your diet. And again, I mean, it's government backed advice that we should be doing that. We know it's research backed. Like we should be aiming for that 5 fruit and veggies a day. I'm more of a vegetable than a fruit lover. You can go either way with it. Just be a bit mindful of fruit and how much natural sugar can be within it. So you kind of, if you like fruit, you do still want to get veggies in. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, again, really, really beneficial foods for our gut health. Probiotics and prebiotics, these can help encourage the growth of more balanced bacteria. So if you do feel like you fall into this category, they're probably things that you want to, so things like a Yakult, things like that, you might want to start taking something like that just to help you try and balance out your gut health. But staying consistent, changes to your microbiome don't happen overnight, but with a few weeks of healthier eating, it can certainly start shifting that balance. So it's something that we can gradually improve as you go through the program. But if you fall into this category, it is definitely worth looking into. So I'm just going to stop my share and come back to the chat. Hang on. I think I prefer the pissing it down with rain. I kind of agree at this point. At least you can get dogs out. Not all of you. I know some of your dogs don't like it. How can I see my daily sugar, not just carbs? That's a great question. I don't actually know if we break it down into, we're talking though, we're not talking like sugar coming from fruits. We are talking about sugar. Like you will know if you're smashing back the cakes, you will know if you're smashing back the sweets. Do you know what I mean? That's the consideration here. But I will have a look and see. I don't know if there is actually a way to see the sugar in the app. But like I say, you will have a good idea based on you know if something's high in sugar or if it's not. So if we're taking something like pasta, we know it's not high in sugar. If you're taking something like Sweets, you know it's going to be high in sugar. So you can get a gauge based on what you're actually consuming, whether you are at all likely to be doing this or not. A fiber tracker, yeah. I mean, I just use it as, are you hitting your 5 fruit and veg a day? Are you anywhere near it, or are you way off the marker? And that's how I'm tracking it personally. I just know, am I getting salads, fruit, veggies into my day? Yes or no? And again, it's that healthy food plate where, so for me, more likely to put fruit in with breakfast. Lunch is more likely to be more salad-based items, tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce, and then dinner for me, more likely to be vegetables. Or again, it might be a salad again. So I would just track it yourself. Are you? I think there is on Kahuna, so I'm sure there is it's not fiber specific, that's not a word. I'm sure there is a way of seeing the 5 a day. Whether or not you're hitting it, I'm absolutely certain there is. I just need to have a look at it. But again, you'll have a good idea. Am I miles off, or am I actually getting good? Because if you're getting 5 fruit a day and you are going to be hitting your fiber, you absolutely are. Uh, I'm finding that having my meals prepped has reduced my cravings when I do have something sweet, like my evening chocolate. Doesn't taste the same anymore. As I said in the chat, it's fascinating. Yeah, this is it. So you might be shifting your organic microbiome, Gem. That's what you might be doing, because I know you were in the place where you were having cakes and different things where you work. Not helpful for that, is it, to have it literally on display? But to actually be able to shift away from that, but not restrict, but actually just move slightly further away from that. Yeah, my office is the worst for people binging on cake. It is wild how office environments are a breeding ground for that kind of behavior. And most office environments, they will have a HR department, they will have somewhere. So if it's the office themselves providing the treats, have a chat with them and say, look, like, actually, can we get some healthy options in here? Now, if it's people like where I used to work, it was always, there must have been, I dare say, a floor of 250, a completely open plan, one floor office. Like the whole lot of us were on this entire floor for this company. And 250 people, it's nearly somebody's birthday every damn day of the year. Do you know what I mean? And then somebody was responsible for bringing cakes in and different things, or there would be a bake-off, there would be a million and one things. And that's just where your self-control and discipline, but also sharing. I'm on a fitness journey. Do you know what I mean? I've got a coach. I'm trying to hold myself accountable, so I'd appreciate it. I'm just not going to have anything, but also don't give me shit for it, because I'm actually trying to take this seriously. Do you know what I mean? Or just have a little bit of something every now and again just to keep yourself feeling like you're part of it. But don't feel peer pressured into making a decision that you actually don't want to make, because this is your choice. This is your life. But I'm sure, yeah, same. I've just replaced it with fruit bowl, very passive aggressive. This is it. Again, you can absolutely take a fruit bowl in and encourage other people to do the same as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can influence the people around you. I've allowed myself the occasional Freddo, maybe a couple every week with a brew. My calories and macros have allowed. Like you, though, I can just have that and I don't crave anything else. If it was a big bag of crisps, though, I would eat the share size bag very easily. Yeah, that's a common thing. A lot of women that I've spoken to before they've stepped foot in the program have said the same thing, that share size multi-pack of crisps that should be for everyone, and they will be really high in calories. They just are, because they're designed to be moreish. Let's be honest, nobody did that share packet of crisps. It doesn't go back in the cupboard and come back out the next day. It's gone. So even trying to avoid buying it, I know there are other people in your household that might want it, but trying to buy the individual packets of crisps. But I'm a hypocrite there, because I can't eat one packet, I have to eat two. I can fit them within my macros, but I do have a savory tooth. Although that being said, I haven't had crisps for probably the best part of a week. But if I want them, that will be my downfall. If there's nothing else in, I will turn to crisps. I don't really buy chocolate. I'm not a major chocolate fan. I've definitely noticed my sugar cravings massively reduced since starting the program, so I can definitely see having less is making me crave it less. And this is it. You can have a bad cycle, or you can have a good cycle. Like you can move from one place to the other, and it can take a bit of time, but it is something that we can get ourselves moving out of this and into that. So it can be really positive. Please, can I ask for advice on the assisted pull-up? It's on my workout and I tried it last week but couldn't lift myself, just floated to the floor. Right. So the assisted pull-up machine. So this is really interesting, and I can almost guarantee you've done it the wrong way. And understandably, so with normal machines, the lower you put that weight, the harder it is. So let's take the leg extension as an example. If you put that weight at the bottom, you probably wouldn't be able to complete one rep. The assisted pull-up machine is the exact opposite. The lower you put that weight, the easier it actually is. So you want to be doing that, Vicky. So you want to take your body weight in kilos, which will be the same as the machine. It's not by accident why we ask you guys to track your weight in kgs. But I'm just going to take the example of 65 kgs. Let's say that's what you weigh. If you were to put that pin as close to 65 kgs down as you can, that is going to take out 100% of your body weight, and it'll be like floating on a feather. So then what you want to do is reduce the pin. So then do it on 60 kg, see how that feels. And what it's doing, the machine is then taking 60 kilos of your weight and you are just pulling 5. And then you want to reduce it again and reduce it again and reduce it again. And you want to find the sweet spot. Now, every machine will feel completely different. But what it's doing, the lower that pin is, the more of your body weight the machine is absorbing from you. And the higher that pin is, so if you started that machine on 0 kgs thinking that that meant it was making your life easier, you made your entire body weight have to pull that entire machine. So it's the exact opposite. Does that make sense, Vicky? I just want to clarify that that definitely does make sense. We'll come back to it. Yeah, there you go. Common thing, and I probably need to put that in the workout notes so that people actually understand that it is the opposite to every other machine. I'm in the program as I'm trying to undo years of battering my gut microbiome. I now shake and feel terrible when I have sugar or caffeine. I wonder what I thought you meant, like shakers in like a shake. It's like I now shake like she's rattling. No, that makes sense. 1 hour sugar, feeling much better now as I've ditched the treats. It can definitely happen. And that might just be a big sensitivity. I have an enormous sensitivity to caffeine. So I think I mentioned it. I think it was last week. It might have been the week before. I feel like days just fly by and I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. But I've got a huge sensitivity to caffeine. So if I have 1 cup, I will literally be like fucking bouncing off the walls. Some people get that to sugar. Now I won't get that to sugar because I do have some sweets every now and again. Like I say, that's my vice and I like them. So I'm not going to eliminate them altogether, but I'm going to pick when I choose to have them. But you might well now be at a point where you do have a major kind of that spike and that crash. So it's just being mindful, or you might want to bring in a tiny bit back in. If they're things that you like, because this program, what it's designed for is so that you can see this through for the rest of your life. If you cannot foresee yourself cutting out caffeine or sugar genuinely for the rest of your life, you're better off reintroducing it in very, very small quantities so that you don't 6 months, 12 months, 2 years from now end up literally back where you began because you tried to do an all or nothing approach. So it might just be that you've changed your tolerance to it. So it could be, but or you might think, you know what? No, I'm good. I can live my life without it. Like there's no right or wrong to that. But if you think it's something you might crave in the future, rather than then literally going balls deep on it and not being able to control that craving, just have little bits of it, just maybe once or twice a week, just to get yourself back to just a kind of even playing field. So, does anybody else have any other questions. What's the difference between doing a dumbbell lying leg curl and using the prone leg curl machine? There isn't really. The dumbbell lying leg curl is good fun because it really makes you question your life choices, trying to get that bad boy up. And it takes some real dedication and focus to do it, but they are both working in the exact same way. So if you'd rather, you might be really time poor, just do the prone if you've got the prone. Not every gym has got the prone, because the seated and the lying are slightly different, dependent, like they're working, one's working in the lengthened, one's working in the shortened. Again, it's not right or wrong, they're just slightly different. So not everybody's got a prone. So some of you might have to do the lying leg curl, yeah, with the dumbbells. But if you've got a prone, you absolutely can do it. It's like the same as what's the difference between a hip thruster and a glute drive, or a booty builder, as some of you guys call them. Like there isn't really any. I would definitely make a strong argument for foot placement, but you're working very, very similar muscle groups in a very, very similar path. So that's what you want to think about. Is this exercise looking very similar to this one? Does it make sense? And if you think about the motions of a lying dumbbell leg curl and then the motions of a lying prone leg curl, they are one and the same. It's a mission. It is a mission. Now I quite enjoy that mission. And I've got access to a prone, but I do sometimes still prefer the dumbbells. I do think it is, I don't know, it just brings about a bit of joy in your day trying to get that fucker between your feet. But again, if you're not mastering it and it's just too much of a headache, just use the prone. That is absolutely fine. And if you're still not mastering it and you don't have a prone, just use a seated leg curl. You're still working hamstrings in all of those exercises. Mission was aborted quickly this morning. This is the other thing. The other reason, weirdly, I quite like to program it is because you feel a little bit silly doing that exercise and it makes you feel like you're really shit at something. And that's actually something psychologically to really try and get through and get over and go, you know what? It doesn't matter if I look a bit silly. No one's actually paying any attention to me. Nobody cares. I'm here doing my thing, and that's all that matters. So again, it could kind of be a bit of a test of how comfortable you actually feel in the gym environment, which is never a bad thing. I've been using, yeah, seated. Like I said, it's just the seated's working hardest at when it's like you're shortening the muscle. The prone, you're lengthening to come back through to short, so it's harder in that lengthened position. And so, right or wrong, they're both working the hamstrings. It's just you'll feel the pull at a slightly different point in the exercise. Do we have any more questions, or are we all sweating our boobies off? I feel like I need to go and have a cold bath. Right, I think we're good, aren't we? I think we're all good. Right, well, have an amazing week. Try and make positive decisions with any barbecues. I feel like at the moment, barbecue season is, some people apparently do really high fatty calorie foods at barbecues when it's not necessarily you under control. So that's a consideration. Try and make sure that they're good choices. And if you're really worried genuinely about joining a barbecue and not knowing if somebody's put bloody pork loins all over the shop, take your own food. Do you know what I mean? Take some chicken sausages or turkey sausages. Literally take your own chicken breasts or prawns or salmon, all of this, halloumi, do you know what I mean? Whatever. You could take your own food to a barbecue. People really don't mind. So do what you got to do, ladies. But all right, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have the best week. Let's absolutely kill it. Nobody die of heat exhaustion. Please stay hydrated as fuck. Wear your SPF and set out with a winning streak. Love you all. Bye.